And the first report in the second half of this meeting is another report, the Corporate Director for Education and Family Support, and it is on the school modernisation programme and our Bridgend West mutual investment model. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Leader. This report seeks Cabinet approval to submit the mutual investment model, I refer to as MIM going forward, Stage 2 application to the Welsh Education Partnership Company, WEPCO, in respect to the Bridgend West School Modernisation Programme scheme, and to seek approval to nominate Councillor John Paul Blundell to be the Bridgend County Borough Council participant representative on the Welsh Education Partnership Strategic Partnering Board. Leader, the background to this report is set out at paragraph 2. In May 2023, the local authority received approval from the Minister for Education and the Welsh Language in respect of the Bridgend West outline business case. This Welsh Government approval of the outline business case enables MIM Stage 2 application to WEPCO to now be made. A replacement BCBC participant representative for Councillor Dr. Charles Smith is required to become a member of the SPB, as Dr. Charles Smith is no longer a BCBC member. It is proposed that Councillor John Paul Blundell, Cabinet Member for Education, be appointed. The Cabinet Member will be aware that members will be aware that the MIM schemes are revenue funded by means of an annual service charge. Funding the annual revenue service charge will be met from contributions from Welsh Government at 81% and BCBC at 19%. It's currently estimated that Bridgend's annual revenue contribution will be in the region of 820k per annum, and this will start to be paid once the buildings are operational. The Council's medium-term financial strategy includes the indicative revenue budget pressure for Bridgend West MIM scheme for 2024-25 onwards, which will be subject to Council approval when the 2024-2025 budget is presented in February-March 2024. Therefore, Leader, I take the recommendations the Cabinet approves the submission of the MIM Stage 2 application to WEPCO and approves the nomination and appointment of Councillor John Paul Blundell to the relevant body.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. Councillor Blundell, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just to say, this is obviously an important step forward now in the Bridgend West school modernisation programme, with the new schools of Ysgolvec Scare and the new combined Kennelly Avon school as well. So this, just to reiterate to members, this is a important next step. I know the local members have been briefed on what's going on, and just to say, of course, I approve myself to be on the committee for it. So happily move the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Councillor Blundell. This is indeed a very exciting and important milestone in the redevelopment of primary provision in Kennelly. It's the biggest single investment that will ever have taken place in education in that community, and I know there's growing excitement within the community, within the schools, about the prospect of state-of-the-art facilities, and perhaps you could explain, Lindsay, some more detail about those facilities, particularly the outdoor facilities that will be available to those children, that community, outdoor facilities that are simply not available to them at the current sites and buildings. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. First of all, just to reiterate something you said earlier in the meeting about young person voice. I think the key development here is we've obviously consulted very heavily with the children and young people from that area. We've done a lot of work with the school councils of the relevant schools. Obviously, the learners are really excited about it. They're looking forward to the new schools, as you can imagine. And they've been actively involved in the design of the building. And this is part of the Stage 2 OBC submission, is really to provide detail around some of the plans. So one of the things we are looking to do is to look for an all-weather pitch that can be shared, obviously with the community as well, because it's a community investment. But for the schools themselves, it's a fantastic facility, not just indoor but outdoor as well. Any member or anyone listening to this meeting, we have a number of schools that have been built as part of Band A of the Welsh Government's 21st Century Schools building. And again, you can see the fantastic facilities they have. For example, Pencoed Primary School has the facility of the outdoor play area, a tremendous learning plaza within the school. So a wide range of facilities for the benefit of young people, staff, and for the community.
Thanks very much for that, Lindsay, and your reassurance that learners are very much part of the design for the new school, and of course staff and governors as well. And I know that they've been very pleased in every new school that we've built. The feedback has been really positive and heartening. So that is reassuring, I'm sure, to colleagues. Okay, thank you. The recommendation has been moved and seconded. Is everyone in agreement with the recommendations, please, colleagues? Thank you. Sorry. Apology. Paul, no, I've moved and seconded, but I haven't said is everyone in agreement, so I will bring the deputy leader in. My sincere apologies.
Thank you very much, Leader. And you just got used to me not being in the room, is what I want to say. I think I just want to make reference to the new report, because our new reports actually list our safeguarding, our corporate parenting responsibilities, and they also make reference to our climate change responsibilities. And I think it's really worth noting that because of that, all our reports have changed. We now have an executive summary at the beginning as well. And it's a new format. I think it gives better reference to the different responsibilities and duties that we have, Leader. But thank you very much, officers.
Thank you for highlighting that. And it is a small but important change, actually, in the way that reports are presented. And indeed, the reference, for example, to our contribution towards climate change. And I know Councillor Spanser will be thrilled that this school, like all our new schools, will be net zero carbon schools. That's a big investment that we've secured from Welsh Government. Welsh Government have made that commitment that all the new schools across Wales will have that, and we've been able to match that. Thankfully, the lion's share has come from Welsh Government, but that will ensure that we are building schools for the next generation. Is everyone in support of the recommendations that have been moved and seconded? Yes, yeah. Thank you, colleagues. We will move on to the next report, the Corporate Director for Education and Family Support, and this is on the outcome of the recent consultation in respect of our school modernisation proposals for a Welsh medium seedling school in Porthcawl. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. The purpose of this report is to inform Cabinet the outcome of the consultation on the Porthcawl Welsh Medium Seedling School proposal, and to seek approval to continue to progress the scheme to establish a Welsh Medium Seedling School and childcare provision for the Porthcawl area on the land of the Porthcawl Primary School site. Leader, the background to this report is set out at paragraph 2. Cabinet members will be aware that the proposal is to establish a Welsh Medium Seedling School with 30 full-time equivalent nursery places and 30 reception places. It's proposed that the seedling provision will be operated and governed by Ysgol y Ferch Osger. The pupils will transition to the school at year 1 and conclude their primary education, that is, until a Welsh medium primary school is established in Porthcawl. Responses received in respect to the consultation process are detailed in paragraph 3. You'll note the responses from pupils were generally positive. While many pupils noted the benefits of collaboration between schools, we also received some feedback from some pupils regarding the use of English language in the schoolyard during break times. However, in general, the feedback in respect to the proposals from pupils was positive. We received one item of direct correspondence from Rieni dros Addysg Cymraeg RAG. The correspondence was generally supportive of the proposal, but expressed concerns regarding the transition and admission arrangements and the timeline for delivering a new permanent Welsh medium school for Porthcawl. Appendix 3 of this report provides further details, including responses and clarifications from the local authority. Overall, 69 respondents completed the online questionnaire, and Appendix 4 of this report provides further information in respect to this matter. The Council's Major Projects team has recently revisited the original indicative programme for the report proposed scheme, and is currently anticipated the opening date will now be September 25. The original indicative programme intended that the new provision would be effective from January 25. Council approval has been received for a capital budget for the proposed Seedling School design and survey costs up to tender stage as detailed in the capital programme. This assumes the costs will be fully recovered once Welsh Government has approved the business justification case, which can only be submitted for consideration once construction costs are known. The Council already has 550k Welsh Government money approved for the childcare element of the proposal from the Welsh Medium Childcare Grant. It's worth noting that the Welsh Government funding streams for Welsh Medium Capital Grant and Welsh Medium Childcare Grant are exclusively for capital expenditure. That is, there is no Welsh Government revenue funding available for this proposal. The delegated school budget for Ysgol y Ferch o Sker will be adjusted through the funding formula to account for the seedling provision. Running costs will be met from the school's delegated budget. Therefore, Leader, I take to the recommendations of paragraph 9, where I ask Cabinet to note the outcome of the consultation and to give approval to continue to progress the scheme. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Lindsay. Councillor Brundle, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lindsay, for the report. Just a couple of questions from me as well. Before, I just want to first of all, thank everyone who took part in the consultation. All 60 odd of them. I think it's an important part that we listen to the public. I think a couple of key things that came up for me through the consultation was obviously the desire for a Welsh medium primary school in Porthcawl itself. So, Lindsay, could you outline, I know you mentioned it briefly when presenting the report, would you sort of offer that reassurance to people that is a ambition of this Cabinet and of this Council to seek to develop a permanent Welsh medium primary school in Porthcawl in the future? And also with respect to the traffic expected for more traffic around the school, around Porthcawl Primary, could you talk about what work will be undertaken to sort of alleviate any of that? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Brundle. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Brundle. As stated in the Local Authority's Welsh Education Strategic Plan and the published ambition of this Cabinet, we are seeking to build a Welsh medium school, primary school in Porthcawl within Band C. I refer to it as Band C. That's the common referred to term. There are no longer bands within the Sustainable Communities for Learning. Will be the next phase of the school modernisation programme. So there is a commitment both in strategic terms and published previously by Cabinet. With regard to traffic, with all new builds, we need to undertake a traffic impact assessment. This involves all residents, obviously, around the site, and we work very closely with Highways colleagues then to make sure there are any issues that are raised and mitigated wherever possible. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. And I can see that Councillor Farr would like to come in as well, please.
Sorry. Seconding the report and welcome your contribution around traffic. There's been a lot of concerns about the traffic. I think it was only recently when a child got knocked down recently outside Porthcawl Primary School some months ago. So I think that there is a lot of concern about the traffic. I know when we spoke about the school in school governance in Porthcawl Primary, I think they were quite excited for it to be happening, especially the fact we're going to have a mugger there. I think, and the children quite excited about having something like that. Hopefully they can use in the evenings. So happy to second the reports.
Thank you for that, Councillor Farr. It's heartening and encouraging to hear that children in the English medium primary school are excited about this plan, and I know they'll be really excited about the potential of having some all-weather facilities. That'll be a real asset, of course, not just to the school but also to the community as well. I can see that Councillor Brundle would like to come back in, and then the Deputy Leader, please. Councillor Brundle.
Thanks, Chair. Just to sort of confirm, I thought I did, but I'm now sort of questioning whether I did actually move the report when I was doing my spiel. But I know Councillor Farr seconded, but I will move the report officially, just in case I actually hadn't.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Brundle. Deputy Leader, please.
Thank you very much, Leader. I think some of our submissions of views especially the Pupils Voice Committee is one that I went to pay particular reference to. In fact, would the school voice committee, Pupils Voice Committee, would they like to suggest any changes or alternatives to the proposals presented? Please give details. Build the new school straight away, because it's like a tin shed with weeds growing through ceilings and walls. You couldn't have any more honest descriptor of what that school is actually like. And I think it's really nice to see that this was very definitely written by pupils as well. So I think it's really good to show that engagement. Thanks very much, Leader.
Thanks so much for that, Deputy Leader. You can always rely on children to be honest and straight. I certainly welcome this provision as well, because of course it's not just a seedling school, but it will also provide childcare provision. I'm thrilled that we've already built the new provision in the Garw and the Ogmore Valleys, brand new provision, their childcare provision. This is of course childcare provision with seedling school, because those communities already have a Welsh medium school in their communities. But the childcare, I think importantly, will potentially be wraparound childcare, and it'll be from birth to 4 years of age, and after school, and holiday provision as well. And we have to remember what a difference that will make to some parents who struggle with childcare. That is unfortunately a reality for so many parents, isn't it? And this will help with those commitments. So thank you for bringing the report forward. Deputy Leader, is that a legacy hand? Oh, okay. So the recommendations have been seconded and moved. So everyone in agreement? Yes. Thank you, colleagues. And we will move on to the next report on today's agenda, and that is again a report, the final report of Corporate Director for Education and Family Support, and is in the appointment of local authority governors. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of this report is to seek approval from Cabinet for the appointment of local authority governors, the school governing bodies listed in paragraphs 3.1 and 3.2. In accordance with the Council's guidance on the appointment of local education authority governors, officers have considered applications received for current vacancies for local authority governor positions on school governing bodies. For the one current local authority governor vacancy at Cymfeg Comprehensive School at paragraph 3.1, the applicant met the approved criteria for appointment as a local authority governor, and there was no competition for the vacancy. However, there was competition for one vacancy at Heronsbridge School. The officer panel scrutinised the applications in respect of the guidance. Although ward members usually prioritise for local authority governor positions on this occasion, the officer panel determined that the recommended appointment is the reappointment of Mrs. Marjorie Nash, due to her extensive experience as a local authority governor, having served for many years on the governing body of Heronsbridge School, and most recently in the role of vice chairperson. Mrs. Nash also sits on many relevant subcommittees and has an excellent attendance record at previous governing body meetings. Therefore, Leader, I take the recommendations of paragraph 9.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. Councillor Blundell, please.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Lindsay. First of all, I will remember this time to make sure I do it first. I move the report, but I just want to thank everyone who's put their name forward to be a governor. It is an important task that needs to be undertaken, and I'm just thankful for anyone who puts their name forward. There are still plenty of vacancies. As I always make my plea, please, members or members of the public, please think about becoming the governor. Have a look at those vacancies. Please try and put your name forward if you are able to. There's information on our social media pages, as on the council website. So please do have a look to see if you are, even if you're just a governor at one school. It makes such a difference to that school to have people engaged in the education process. So just to thank everyone who put their name forward, and thank you, Lindsay, and I'm going to move the report again. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you for that, Councillor Blundell. Deputy Leader, please.
Thank you very much, Leader. I'm quite happy to second the report. I can't tell our residents how much value I place on being a governor. The amount of skills that I've learned since becoming a governor has been exceptional, and the training that we receive is really it's top notch, you know. So I think that's really useful. I don't think anybody wants to go into something that they're really not sure about, not knowing that they don't have the appropriate support available. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that that feedback and moving the recommendations. Is everyone in agreement with the recommendations, please? Okay, thank you, colleagues. We will now move on to the next report, and the next report is a report of the monitoring officer, and it is on representation on outside bodies. So I'll ask Chief Officer for Legal, Regulatory, HR and Corporate Policy to present this report. Kelly, please.
Thank you, Leader. As stated, the purpose of the report is to seek Cabinet's approval for the appointment of members to joint committees, Cabinet committees and the nomination of members to outside bodies. The full list is appended to your report at Appendix 1. It is proposed that members be appointed for a term of 1 year, except where earlier revocation of appointment is appropriate. Where Cabinet nominates on the basis of a member's role within the authority, the appointment is attached to the role and not to the individual member, e.g. scrutiny chair or cabinet member. All appointments are made with the assumption that appointees represent Bridgend County Borough Council. Should any appointee cease to be a Bridgend County Borough Councillor, they will cease to represent this authority and expected to relinquish their appointments as necessary. I would ask Cabinet to note that scrutiny members are included at the moment on the corporate parenting nomination. They may be subject to change as they are determined by the individual committees.
Thank you for that, Kelly. Deputy Leader, please.
Thank you very much, Leader. I appreciate this is just process, but I want to formally move the report to Cabinet, please.
Thank you for that, Deputy Leader. Councillor Farr, please.
Yeah, I'd like to second the report. Question for me is, we have 2 vacancies on there. How will we be filling those vacancies, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I know that I know that members are being liaised with currently about filling those vacancies. So the recommendation has been moved and seconded. Everyone in agreement, please. Thank you, colleagues. The next report we have is on the Licensing Act 2003 and approval to publish the cumulative impact assessment in Bridgend Town Centre. I'm very pleased that we've been joined this afternoon by the operational manager of our shared regulatory services, Will Lane, and I will ask Kelly, and then I won't ask Kelly, I will ask Will to introduce the report. So welcome, and over to you, please, Will. Thank you.
Thanks, Leader. So this report is for consideration and noting. Its purpose is to make Cabinet aware of an item being placed before full council tomorrow, namely approval of a cumulative impact assessment. So just by way of brief background, cumulative impact policies were introduced as a tool to limit the growth of licensed premises in problem areas. So those areas affected by linked crime and disorder. And when implemented, the policy places a presumption against the grant of a license or the extension of hours of operation of premises in that area. And that is contrary to the normal procedure with the Licensing Act, where there is a presumption to grant unless there's evidence to indicate that one of the licensing objectives is going to be undermined. It's important to note, however, that subcommittees, so members, still must consider every application on its merit, and may still choose to grant a license where the applicant can demonstrate that it's an exceptional application and has addressed some of the potential cumulative impacts as part of its operating procedure. So whilst it gives a presumption not to grant, it's by no means a straitjacket, and the decision making remains with the local members. So turning to 3.2 of the report, the CIA, or the Cumulative Impact Assessment, currently applies to an area covered in Bridgend Town Centre, which is namely Market Street, Derwin Road, Wyndham Street, and part of Norton Street. Now, the current CIA expired in December of last year and is attached for reference at Appendix A. Now, South Wales Police, as our principal advisor on crime and disorder, have requested that the CIA remain in its current form, and then evidence supporting this request is attached for information at Appendix B. The information is quite detailed and tabulated, but it's summarised best in 3.3 of the report, where it says, namely, that prior to COVID, there was a 34% increase in crime demand reported across all categories of the nighttime economy. Now, post-COVID, as you can imagine, during the COVID period and after, there has been a significant decrease, which they are associating with emergence from the lockdown. But their conclusion is that there's every likelihood that crime figures will resume their upward trend and therefore support the continuance of the CIA in the town centre. Now, as part of the process for adopting a CIA, there's some statutory guidance we have to follow, and we undertook a public consultation. This spanned 3 months. I have to say the response was disappointing. There were only 7 respondees, all from members of the public, and their responses are detailed in the report, and a summary is in the draft CIA, which you will find at Appendix C. So the proposal being put before Council is included at point 3.1.9 of the report, and it is to determine that we adopt the CIA from the date of approval until the expiry of the current statement of licensing policy, which runs until December 2024. So what is being recommended is that we harmonise the CIA to coincide with the wider review that we have to undertake as part of our general statement of licensing policy. This, we would argue, would allow for a better picture of the nighttime economy to emerge post-COVID, and inform which venues may or may not be contributing most to cumulative impact in the city centre. So that's kind of my synopsis of the report, Leader. I'm happy to try and answer any questions if members have them.
Thanks so much for that summary of the report, Will. I'll bring Councillor Good in first and then the Deputy Leader. Councillor Good, please.
Thanks, Leader. Thank you for the report, Will. I'm happy to move the report. I think, as Will highlights in this has to be a balancing act. But what I want to reassure any members listening or members in the room is that, as Will says, each application, regardless of this policy, has to be viewed by the licensing committee and viewed with no fear or favour. So this isn't about simply saying no to any new licensees within our town centres, because that isn't what we want. We have a great nighttime economy. We have some brilliant new restaurants. We have a lot of great bars, and I don't see any reason that we would limit that unless it was felt that it did have that negative impact on antisocial behaviour, which at the end of the day, if that's taking place, it's going to discourage people from coming to our town centres. So this is very much a balancing act. As Will says, this is about harmonising our policy and also trying to get more data in a post-COVID world where we've only had a year of impact to review since the return of bars and restaurants. So I'd like to support this report. I think it rightly balances where we need to go and listens to our colleagues within South Wales Police in terms of determining what we need to do to combat antisocial behaviour. Thanks, Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Good, as a Cabinet member, and points very well made about this not being a blanket ban in any sense, is it? Every individual application will be considered on its own merit. Obviously, there is a presumption of rebuttal, but that is not absolute, is it, Mondrinoff? And if a business comes up with a compelling case, and I'm sure a compelling case could be made, particularly around our vibrant restaurant and cafe sector now in the town centre. If a case was made, and that would certainly, I'm sure, be considered by the licensing committee in that context of the wider benefits and carefully controlling and managing the potential impact of a license establishment, because it doesn't always bring negative impacts. Quite often we can have businesses that are able to sustain licenses without there being that impact on our town centres. Deputy Leader is next, please.
Thank you very much, Leader. I'm quite happy to second the report. And as a previous licence holder, Will, I suppose my question for you is, I understand that we have a register of licences. What I would ask is, what are the conditions of those licences and how would I find those for each individual licence? Because as a member of the public, if I was looking to see if somebody was in breach of their licence, I wouldn't have anything to look at to see if they were, unless you go to the actual establishment and it'll be written on the door, above the door. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's not the same thing.
yeah. I mean, well, the first thing I'd say is, as a member or a member of the public, if you had a query about a particular license condition attached to a premises, then we would be happy as a council to advise you what the conditions were. They're not secret. All premises will have different licenses. So there are some mandatory licenses which apply to all premises where alcohol is sold, and they are placed on the license as a matter of course. There are conditions that are offered up by the applicant as part of the process. So they will say, look, this is how we intend to run the premises, and these are the conditions that we're going to attach on. We recommend that it is attached to our business to enable it to run smoothly. And then there are conditions if, for instance, it's a controversial license application and it were to go to a hearing, then members can attach conditions if they feel that they're necessary to promote the licensing objectives. So the simple answer to your question is all licensed premises will have slightly different conditions apart from the mandatory ones. And as a member of the public or a local member, if you want to try and understand the conditions, then just contact the licensing team and we'll be happy to supply you.
Thank you for that, Will. Deputy Leader, please.
Thank you very much. Will, thank you very much for your response. I'm really very sorry, but if I was a member of the public trying to get hold of you, I know that I put a referral in last week. Somebody had been trying 61 times to get through our telephonist. So I'm very sorry.
Right.
That's not an acceptable response, and I need a go-to. So, and as most public
Yeah.
would.
I mean, obviously, it's having a difficulty getting through is obviously unacceptable. It's not within our control sometimes in the licensing team, but we have a licensing inbox which I'm happy to circulate to all members, which is permanently manned, and that will be picked up by the licensing team, and I can provide that to you through Democratic Services, and I'm happy to distribute that with members so that they've got a direct line in then. And certainly individually, I'm happy to take any inquiries you may have as well.
Thank you for that. Very helpful as ever, Will. Deputy, you wanted to come back in?
Yes, please, if you don't mind. Will, I'm going to refer this to Kelly, because that is, as a member of the public, I wouldn't have your email address for licensing.
No.
And I appreciate what you've just said about picking it up for each individual member. What I'm trying to say is, if I was a member of the public and I wanted to check somebody's licensing arrangements and conditions, I can't without trying to get hold of the licensing department, and that's not really transparent. So as far as I'm concerned, that information should be available somewhere, but I will refer it to Kelly because this would be Kelly's area.
Thank you for that, Deputy Leader. Kelly, please.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Deputy Leader. What we'll do is we'll certainly review how we publish the licenses at the moment. We'll obviously have to double check the legislation to see if there's anything that prevents us from publishing it in full. There are requirements for the premises to obviously display it. So we wouldn't want to override that. You know, we wouldn't want to give premises an opportunity to say, well, it's on the council's website, so we don't have to display it. So we'll just double check that the legislation allows it, and then we can look at whether we can put it on our licensing page on the website.
I think that would be helpful, and I'm sure wouldn't it, Will? And if we can do it, we'll just check out the legislation around that first, and any other issues that there may be. Thank you for flagging that, Deputy Leader. And of course, this is a report that will be presented to Council tomorrow. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that tomorrow. And of course, I'm sure we all welcome that there's a commitment in there to a further review, isn't there, in a year's time, so we can reflect the circumstances then, because obviously we recognise and understand that it's a changing world, and certainly our town centres continue to change, don't they? And the trade continues to change, and we'll certainly want to continue to reflect that in our policy. Thank you, Will, and we will now move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is to consider any urgent items. Now, I have had no requests for urgent items to be considered at this meeting in accordance with the rules within the Constitution. So we will move on to agenda item number 19, which is a proposal to exclude the public for reasons set out in the report, and of course members will apply that public interest test with the caveat that is always given that ultimately this information will become public in the future, but not at this stage is the proposal. Do I have a mover for that, please?
Move the regulation 19 exclude public, Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Spanzik, and do I have a seconder? Thank you for that, Councillor Farr. So we will now ask for the public to be removed if indeed there